Are you doing everything right but still feeling sluggish? You track your macros, you hit your protein, you count every gram, every calorie, every milligram of micronutrient like it's a sacred ritual. And yet, by 2 p.m., you're staring at your screen wondering why your brain feels like it's wading through fog. By 9 p.m., you're wired but exhausted. And in the morning, you wake up feeling like you never slept at all. Maybe you've tried cutting carbs, maybe you've tried intermittent fasting or counting every macro down to the gram, or cycling through diet after diet, each one promising to be the one. And maybe for a little while, each one worked, a little. And then the results stalled, the energy crashes came back, the cravings crept back in, and you found yourself wondering, what am I missing? Here's the truth nobody in the fitness industry wants to admit in 2026. It's not your diet. It's your timing. We've spent the last 2 decades obsessing over what goes into our bodies and almost no time understanding when it should go in. But the newest metabolic research is screaming one message at us loud and clear. Your body isn't a calculator, it's a symphony. And right now, you're playing all the right notes at completely the wrong time. Today, we're throwing out the spreadsheet. We're going to show you why metabolic health in 2026 is being completely redefined, not around macros, not around willpower, but around rhythm. And by the end of this video, you'll have a blueprint to sync your biology with the natural beats your body has been trying to follow your entire life. But before we get there, I need to show you the one mistake almost everyone is making and is hiding in plain sight. Health is not a destination, it's a rhythm you learn to ride. We don't just treat symptoms, we decode your biological waves to turn back the clock from the inside out. And nowhere is that more true than in what we're about to cover today. So, if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right and still not getting results, stay with me, because what you're about to learn might be the missing 20% that changes everything. I'm Dr. Elias, and this is your 2026 Metabolic Forecast. Let's start with an uncomfortable question. If macro counting really worked, if calories in versus calories out was truly the whole story, why are so many people doing it perfectly and still hitting a wall? This isn't a hypothetical. In clinical nutrition studies in the last few years, researchers have noticed something strange. People who track macros with religious precision, hitting their protein, managing their carbs, staying within their calorie targets, are still reporting plateaus, stubborn fat that won't move, energy crashes that don't make sense on paper, sleep that doesn't restore them the way it used to. It's almost as if the body has its own set of rules, rules that have nothing to do with the numbers on the label and everything to do with a clock that's been running quietly in the background this entire time, completely unaccounted for in any tracking app on the market. And here's the term that's been quietly spreading through metabolic research circles: metabolic burnout. Not burnout from stress, burnout from over-engineering. From treating your body like a machine you can optimize through inputs alone while completely ignoring the internal clock that governs how those inputs are actually processed. Think about it this way. Imagine you have the highest quality ingredients in the world, organic, fresh, perfectly balanced, but you're cooking them in an oven that's broken, sometimes too hot, sometimes too cold, running on a schedule that has nothing to do with when the food actually needs to cook. That's what's happening inside millions of bodies right now. The ingredients, the food, the macros, the supplements, they're fine. But the oven, your internal timing system, is running on a broken schedule. And no amount of perfect ingredients can fix a broken oven. This is the shift that's defining 2026. We're moving away from the question, what should I eat? And toward a much more powerful question, when should I eat it, move, rest, and recover based on what my body is actually doing at that moment? Because here's the thing about the human body that gets lost in every macro chart and calorie app. You are not a static system. You are a wave. Your hormones rise and fall throughout the day in predictable patterns. Your insulin sensitivity shifts. Your core body temperature oscillates. Your digestive enzymes ramp up and down on a schedule that's been encoded in your cells for millions of years. And when you ignore that wave, when you eat, train, and sleep against the grain of your own biological rhythm, your body doesn't just shrug it off, it fights you, quietly, persistently, every single day. That's the when frontier, and it's about to change everything you thought you knew about health. But let me give you a real-world picture of what this looks like, because I think it'll click for a lot of you. Imagine two people, both eat the exact same 2,000 calories a day, both hit roughly the same macros, same protein, same carbs, same fats. Both exercise the same number of times per week at the same intensity. Person A eats their largest meal at 7 a.m., exercise mid-morning, has a moderate lunch, and finishes eating by early evening, leaving several hours before bed completely free of food. Person B skips breakfast entirely, grabs something small and processed at lunch, and then, because that's when life finally slows down, eats their largest meal of the day at 9 p.m., often while watching TV, often within an hour or two of going to sleep. On paper, identical inputs, identical macros, but in the body, completely different stories are unfolding. Person A's body received fuel during the window when their cells were most receptive to it, when insulin sensitivity was high, when digestive enzymes were primed, when their liver was expecting exactly this. The food gets converted efficiently into usable energy. Blood sugar rises gently and comes back down smoothly. By the time evening arrives, their body transitions cleanly into repair mode because there's nothing left to digest. Person B's body now has to digest a large meal at the exact moment it should be shutting down for the night. Insulin sensitivity is already declined. The same calories cause a sharper blood sugar spike. Digestion competes directly with the deep repair processes that are supposed to happen during sleep. And because the body is still working on food well into the night, sleep quality suffers too, which then disrupts the next day's rhythm and the cycle compounds. Same food, same macros, same exercise, wildly different metabolic outcomes, purely because of timing. This is the when frontier, and it's about to change everything you thought you knew about health. But here's where it gets really interesting, because this rhythm isn't coming from one place in your body. It's coming from dozens of places at once, and almost nobody knows it. So, if your body runs on rhythm, where does that rhythm actually come from?
Most people have heard of the master clock, the one in your brain, in a region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus that responds to light and tells your body when it's day and when it's night. That's real, and it matters. But here's what almost nobody talks about. That master clock is just the conductor. The real orchestra is happening in every single organ of your body independently. Your liver has its own clock. Your gut has its own clock. Your pancreas, your muscles, even your fat tissue. Each one runs on what researchers call a peripheral clock, a localized timing system that operates semi-independently from your brain. And here's where it gets fascinating. These peripheral clocks don't just take orders from your brain. They take cues from you, from when you eat, when you move, when you're exposed to light, and when you sleep. So picture this. Your brain says it's 7 a.m., time to wake up. But if you've been eating dinner at 10 p.m. every night for the past 5 years, your liver's internal clock is still running on a completely different schedule. It's expecting fuel at midnight. It's not ready to process the breakfast you just ate. This mismatch between what your brain expects and what your organs are prepared for is what scientists are calling metabolic friction. And here's the part that should genuinely concern you. Metabolic friction happens regardless of food quality. You could eat the cleanest, most perfectly balanced meal on the planet, and if you eat it at the wrong time relative to your internal rhythm, your body processes it less efficiently. Blood sugar spikes higher, fat storage increases, energy conversion drops. It's not about willpower. It's not about discipline. It's about synchronization. Think of it like a team of musicians, each one incredibly skilled on their instrument. Your liver is a world-class cellist. Your pancreas is a brilliant pianist. Your gut is a virtuoso on the drums. Each one individually could perform a flawless solo. But if the cellist is playing in 3/4 time, while the drummer is locked into 4/4, and the pianist is somewhere in between, it doesn't matter how skilled each musician is. The result is noise, friction, a performance that technically has all the right notes, but none of them land together. That's metabolic friction. Every organ doing its job, but out of sync with every other organ. And the body experiences that misalignment as fatigue, as stubborn weight, as inflammation, as the slow, creeping sense that something's off, even though every test comes back normal. This is where the idea I keep coming back to becomes so important, the rhythmic creed. The missing link in modern nutrition isn't a new supplement, a new diet, or a new app. It's the recognition that your
body is made up of dozens of internal clocks, and your job isn't to override them, it's to align with them. Because once your internal chronometer is in sync, once your liver, your gut, your muscles, and your brain are all reading from the same script, something remarkable happens. The same food, the same exercise, the same sleep, suddenly working with you instead of against you. That's not magic, that's rhythm. And once you understand this, you'll never look at a clock the same way again, because the next thing I'm going to show you explains why two people can eat the exact same meal and get completely opposite results. Let's talk about one of the biggest disruptors to your internal rhythm: light. Specifically, blue light. We are, more than any generation before us, creatures of the screen. Phones, laptops, TVs, all emitting blue spectrum light late into the evening. And here's the problem. Blue light doesn't just affect your sleep. It directly interferes with how your body processes glucose. When your eyes are exposed to blue light in the evening, your brain interprets that as it's still daytime. This delays the release of melatonin, but it also keeps certain metabolic processes running in active mode when they should be winding down for repair and recovery. The result, research is increasingly connecting evening screen exposure with impaired glucose tolerance the following day. Your body essentially gets confused about what time it is, and that confusion costs you metabolically. But here's the empowering part. Once you understand when your body is naturally primed to handle different tasks, you can work with that rhythm instead of against it. Researchers have identified what we like to call your power hours, windows during the day when your insulin sensitivity is at its peak and your body is most efficient at processing carbohydrates and converting food into usable energy rather than storing it as fat. For most people, this window sits earlier in the day, generally in the hours following your natural wake time, when cortisol is naturally elevated and your cells are most receptive to glucose uptake. As the day progresses, that sensitivity gradually declines. By late evening, your body has shifted into a different mode entirely, one oriented toward repair, detoxification, and recovery, not digestion and energy storage. This is why two people can eat the exact same meal, same calories, same macros, and have completely different metabolic outcomes just by basing on when they ate it. So what does this mean practically? It means front-loading your nutritional intake earlier in your day, when your biological power hours are active. It means giving your body a longer window in the evening, free from heavy digestion, so your internal repair systems can do what they're designed to do without competing for resources. It's not about starvation. It's not about extreme restriction. It's about alignment. Eating with your solar rhythm, the rise and fall of light throughout the day, and with your social rhythm, the natural rest and recovery window that's been hardwired in human biology since before electricity existed. Sync your meals to your light exposure, sync your light exposure to your sleep, and suddenly your metabolism stops fighting you and starts working for you. But light and food timing are only part of the picture. There's a third lever most people have never even considered, and it's movement. Just like your metabolism has power hours for food, it also has windows where physical activity produces a dramatically different effect on your blood sugar and your hormones. A short walk after a meal, even just 10 to 15 minutes, can significantly blunt the blood sugar spike that follows eating. Your muscles, when active, pull glucose out of your bloodstream directly without needing as much insulin to do it. It's like opening a second door for the glucose to leave through instead of forcing it all through one. Now compare that to the same walk taken in a fasted state first thing in the morning. Different hormonal environment, different fuel source, different outcome. Your body taps into stored fat for energy more readily because it isn't dealing with a recent influx of food. Neither one is better in some universal sense. They serve different purposes. But here's the point. The same 15-minute walk done at two different times of day produces two different physiological events. Once again, it's not just what you do, it's when you do it.
This is the layered nature of rhythm. Light, food, movement, sleep. Each one is its own wave, and each one influences the others. When you start stacking these waves so they reinforce each other instead of canceling each other out, that's when people describe feeling like a switch is flipped. Steadier energy, fewer cravings, better sleep without trying harder to sleep. Not because anything dramatic changed, but because everything finally lined up. There's one more wave worth understanding here because it ties everything together, and that's your stress hormone rhythm. Cortisol gets a bad reputation. People talk about it like it's purely a bad hormone, something to minimize at all costs, but that's not quite right. Cortisol follows its own daily rhythm, and under normal circumstances, it's actually highest in the morning, shortly after you wake up. This morning rise is a natural, healthy part of your body's wake-up sequence. It helps mobilize energy, sharpen focus, and get you moving for the day. The problem isn't that cortisol exists. The problem is when that rhythm gets flattened or flipped, when cortisol stays elevated late into the evening instead of gradually declining, or when it fails to rise properly in the morning, leaving you groggy and unmotivated for hours. And what flattens this rhythm? A lot of the same things we've already covered. Late night screen exposure, eating large meals close to bedtime, inconsistent sleep and wake times. Each of these sends a signal to your body that says, stay alert at exactly the moment your cortisol should be winding down, and rest at exactly the moment it should be ramping up. When your cortisol rhythm is aligned, it works as a quiet support system for everything else, helping you wake up with energy, helping your metabolism shift gears appropriately throughout the day, and stepping back gracefully in the evening to let other repair processes take over. When it's misaligned, it becomes another layer of friction, another instrument playing out of time with the rest of the orchestra. The encouraging part is that you don't need to fix cortisol directly. It responds to the same foundational rhythm cues as everything else: light, food timing, movement, and sleep. Align those, and your cortisol rhythm tends to fall back into place on its own, the way it's designed to. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds great in theory, Dr. Elias, but how do I actually know what my rhythm is? Everyone's different. You're right. And this is where 2026 has given us something previous generations never had: the ability to actually see our internal rhythms in real time. The newest generation of wearable technology has moved beyond simple step counting and heart rate. Today's most advanced devices monitor interstitial fluid, the fluid that surrounds your cells, giving you a real-time window into glucose fluctuations as they happen, not hours later, combined with continuous temperature cycle tracking, and you get a remarkably accurate picture of where you are in your own metabolic rhythm at any given moment. When your interstitial glucose readings show smooth, gentle curves rather than sharp spikes and crashes, and when your core temperature follows a clean, predictable rise and fall pattern across the day, that's your body telling you it's in sync. That's your rhythm working as designed. But here's something I want to be very clear about. You do not need expensive sensors to start this journey. Your body has been giving you feedback your entire life. You've just been trained to ignore it. Notice when your energy naturally peaks during the day. Notice when your hunger feels genuine versus when it's driven by boredom, stress, or habit. Notice how you feel 2 hours after a meal, energized and clear, or heavy and foggy. Notice your natural wake time on days when you don't use an alarm. These are all signals from your peripheral clocks. They're not random. They're data, your body's own dashboard running 24/7, completely free. The wearables can refine this. They can confirm what you're feeling and help you fine-tune the timing. But the foundational skill, the one that will serve you for the rest of your life, is learning to listen to your own rhythm again. Low tech, no cost, and absolutely available to everyone. And I want to address something here because I know it's on a lot of people's minds. No, this isn't about buying another gadget. The wearable tech is a magnifying glass, not a requirement. If finances or access make that off the table for you, you are not locked out of this. Some of the most rhythm-aligned people I've worked with have never worn a single sensor. They simply paid attention. What they did was simple, but consistent. For a couple of weeks, they kept a basic log, nothing fancy, just a note on their phone. Wake time, energy level an hour after waking, energy level mid-afternoon, how they felt after each meal, what time they started feeling tired in the evening. After about 10 to 14 days, a pattern emerges. Almost everyone has one, and once you can see your pattern in black and white, you can start working with it instead of guessing. This is the part that tends to surprise people the most. Your rhythm doesn't need to be fixed. It's already there. It's been running this whole time in the background, whether you've been listening to it or not. The work isn't building a new system from scratch. It's uncovering the one that's already operating inside you and finally giving it the conditions it needs to function properly. And once you start listening, the next step is simple, almost deceptively simple. So let's bring all this together, because by now you understand the why, you understand the science. The question is, what do you actually do with this? But before we get to the blueprint, there's one more piece of the puzzle, and it's the one most people overlook entirely. Sleep itself isn't a single event. It's a rhythm within the rhythm. Across a typical night, your body cycles through several distinct stages: lighter sleep, deep sleep, and the dream-rich stage known as REM. Each one of these stages serves a different purpose, and each one is tied to the same internal clocks we've been discussing. Deep sleep, which tends to dominate the earlier part of the night, is when your body does much of its physical repair, tissue recovery, growth hormone release, immune system maintenance. REM sleep, more concentrated in the later cycles, plays a critical role in memory processing and emotional regulation. Here's why this matters for everything we've covered. If you're eating, light exposure, and activity patterns are pushing your internal clocks out of alignment, it doesn't just affect digestion, it disrupts the timing and proportion of these sleep stages too. You might be getting 8 hours in bed, but if the architecture of that sleep is disrupted, you wake up feeling like you got far less. This is why some people can sleep 8 or 9 hours and still wake up exhausted, while others sleep slightly less but wake up feeling genuinely restored. It's rarely just about duration. It's about whether your sleep, like your meals, like your light exposure, like your movement, is happening in alignment with your internal rhythm or working against it.
And the good news, every single thing we've talked about so far in this video, your light exposure, your meal timing, your movement, all of it directly influences this. You don't need a separate sleep fix. When you align the rest of your rhythm, your sleep architecture tends to follow. It's all one system, one wave with many parts. So let's bring this all together, because by now you understand the why, you understand the science. The question is, what do you actually do with this? Here's your 3-step transition plan moving from macro obsession to rhythmic flow. Step 1. Anchor your light exposure. Get natural light exposure as early in your day as possible and start reducing bright artificial and blue light exposure in the hours before sleep. This single shift recalibrates your master clock, and through it, every peripheral clock that takes its cues from light. In practice, this can be as simple as stepping outside for a few minutes shortly after waking. Even on a cloudy day, natural light is significantly more powerful for this purpose than indoor lighting. In the evening, this might mean dimming overhead lights, switching to warmer-toned lamps, and giving your eyes a break from screens in the final stretch before bed. You're not trying to live in darkness. You're simply giving your brain a clearer signal about what time it actually is. Step 2. Front-load your fuel. Instead of asking how many calories should I eat today, start asking when is my body most ready to receive this energy. Shift your larger, more substantial meals earlier into your day's power hours and create a longer, consistent window in the evening when your body isn't competing between digestion and repair. This doesn't mean skipping dinner or going hungry at night. It means shifting the balance, making breakfast and lunch more substantial and allowing dinner to be lighter and earlier when possible. Even shifting your last meal just 1 or 2 hours earlier than you currently do can meaningfully extend your overnight recovery window. Small shift, compounding effect. Step 3. Protect your wind-down window. The hours before sleep aren't wasted time. They're when your body does its most important repair work. Protect this window. Dim the lights. Step away from screens. Let your internal clocks transition smoothly from active mode into recovery mode, the way they're designed to. Think of this window as a runway. A plane can't go from cruising altitude to a full stop instantly. It needs a gradual descent. Your body is the same. It needs a runway between full activity and deep sleep. Skipping that runway, going straight from bright screens, stimulating content, or a heavy meal directly into bed is like asking a plane to land without ever descending. It can technically happen, but it's rough, and it costs you the next day. That's it. 3 steps. Not a diet, not a meal plan, not another spreadsheet. A rhythm. And here's what's waiting for you on the other side of this shift, because the implications go far beyond just feeling less sluggish. When your internal clocks are synchronized, when your liver, your gut, your muscles, and your brain are all reading from the same internal schedule, your body's repair and renewal processes operate the way they were designed to.
Cellular maintenance happens on schedule. Metabolic waste gets cleared efficiently. And over time, this isn't just about how you feel today. It's about how your body ages over the years to come. The conversation in longevity science is shifting. It's moving away from what supplements should I take and toward a much deeper question. Is my biological timing supporting or sabotaging my own cellular renewal? Because here's the part that ties this whole forecast together. Every cell in your body is constantly cycling through a process of breakdown and rebuild. Old, damaged components get cleared out, new, functional ones get built in their place. This is happening right now as you watch this. But the rate, the timing, and the efficiency of that process is governed by the very same internal clocks we've been talking about this whole time. When those clocks are fighting each other, when your liver thinks it's still digesting at 2 a.m., when your light exposure is telling your brain it's daytime at midnight, when your meals are scattered across your day with no rhythm at all, your cellular renewal processes get squeezed into smaller and smaller windows, fighting for time and resources against everything else your body is trying to do. But when those clocks are aligned, when there's a clear, predictable rhythm of activity and rest, of fueling and fasting, of light and dark, your body gets something it desperately needs: uninterrupted time to do its repair work properly. Not rushed, not competing, just done the way it's designed to be, night after night. This is why people who align with their rhythm don't just report feeling better in the short term. Over months and years, this is the foundation that everything else gets built on. Energy, resilience, how well your body recovers from stress, from illness, from the normal wear of daily life. It's not a quick fix, it's a compounding one. And that's the real opportunity in front of you in 2026. Not another restriction, not another rule, an invitation to stop fighting your biology and start riding its rhythm. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, don't change what you eat. Don't overhaul your entire diet overnight. Just start paying attention to when. When does your natural energy rise? When does it fall? When do you feel clearest? And when do you feel foggy? Write it down. Notice the pattern, because that pattern, that's your rhythm. It's been there your entire life. You just haven't been listening to it. And I want to be honest with you about something. This won't feel dramatic on day 1 or day 3. That's normal, and it's actually a good sign. Rhythms aren't built in a day, and they don't announce themselves with fireworks. They show up quietly as a slightly easier morning, a slightly steadier afternoon, a night where you fall asleep without the usual mental scroll. Small signals at first, but they compound. The people who see the biggest shifts aren't the ones who change everything overnight. They're the ones who pick 1 or 2 small adjustments, maybe just getting outside earlier in the morning or shifting dinner an hour earlier than possible, and stay consistent with them long enough for their internal clocks to actually catch up. Your peripheral clocks don't reset instantly. They adjust gradually, day by day, the more consistent the signal becomes. So give it time. Give it patience, and most importantly, give it consistency. That's the real lever here. Not intensity, not restriction. Consistency applied to the right timing. This is what the Rhythmic Creed is all about. We don't just treat symptoms, we decode your biological waves to turn back the clock from the inside out. If this video gave you a new lens on your own health, hit subscribe, because every week on this channel, we're breaking down the science that's redefining what it means to be healthy in 2026 and beyond. And drop a comment below. What time of day do you feel your best? I read every single one, and your answers might just become the topic of our next deep dive. I'm Dr. Elias. Stay in rhythm, and I'll see you in the next one.